Dr. Hart here. On page 2 of our math journal, you'll see that I've put the title Student Expectations 6.4G. This is the foundation for the following lessons, and I wanted to make sure that everyone understood where we're headed. So if you looked on the TEA website under the 6th grade math TEKS, you would see the following. Generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents using real-world problems, including problems that involve money. So I wanted to start out with the most basic, and most of you have already learned this. Just want to remind you of it though. Equivalent decimals. 1 is equal to 1.0, that's equal to 1.00, and you can see the pattern continues. I've also done it for 2 and for 3. My little word bubble here says these 3 dots, they're called ellipses. That means that the pattern continues. So whenever you see that, just know that the pattern is going to continue on. Now, I didn't want to mislead you to think that this was the only form where you could add a 0. You'll notice, well, let me just say, any rational number will retain its value with the placement of zeros after a decimal and to the right of all other numbers. So you'll see here the example 4 is equal to 4.0, just like up here. But I wanted to call to your attention, if we had the number 4.1, that's also equal to 4.10 or 4.100. So you'll see it's the same pattern as up here, but now I have the addition of the 1 after the decimal, and then I can put a 0 after the last number and keep the value. So next I wanted to talk to you about changing a fraction to a decimal by division. That's the title line. Before we get started though, I want to talk about the different ways that you can say this number. You can call it 1/2, which is the common way of calling that number. You could say 1/2 or 1 out of 2. Please be aware that it's also called 1 divided by 2. Mr. Stick says fraction bar is a division symbol, and he's right. So this is 1 divided by 2. You could also say 1 is the numerator and 2 is the denominator. Now, one way to change 1/2 to 5/10 is to divide 1 by 2. This is where it gets tricky because you may not have ever divided a smaller number by a larger number. You're going to put the denominator outside the house. You're going to put 1 inside the house. That's the numerator. The top number goes in the house. So ask yourself, how many times 2 goes into 1? It goes 0 times. Make sure to put the 0 above the 1. Then place a decimal and a 0 after 1. Move the decimal up like this. So you have 0 point. Now it looks like 10 divided by 2. Make sure your 0 is above the 1. I'm using erasable pens, and if it gets too hot, I think it also erases. That's something I just found out today. So I'm going to be writing this as we talk about it. So the internal monologue that you're going to ask yourself now is, how many times will 2 go into 10? Or you could say, what is 10 divided by 2? And if you'll look, 2 goes into 10 5 times. So you've changed 1/2 into 5/10 by dividing 2 into 1. Now I would like for you to practice dividing 1 by 4, 2 by 4, and 3 by 4. Then practice dividing 1 by 5, 2 by 5, 3 by 5, and 4 by 5. And then the eighths, divide 1 by 8, 2 by 8, 3 by 8, 4 by 8, 5 by 8, 6 by 8, 7 by 8. And for those of you who would like a little bit of a challenge, or if you want to show me that you already know some of this, you could go ahead and do these problems where you divide 1 by 3, 2 by 3, and then the ninths, 1/9, 1 divided by 9, 2 divided by 9, 3 divided by 9, and so forth. Thanks for watching. See you next time.